I'd like to thank Khadija for spending her time with me today. You know, what you work for and what you've dedicated so much time and effort into is absolutely amazing, and it's truly going to make the wider community such a better place for all people with conditions such as mine, and even further beyond that. And I'd like to know a bit more about the work that you do. I'm going to ask you a few questions, but the first question that I'd like to ask you was, could you tell us a bit about your journey, about yourself, and how you became involved with CCA?
Sure. So I actually kind of found CCA when I was kind of going through my own rough patch on knowing what I wanted to do in life and where I wanted to go. To the core, I knew I wanted to serve people and have a life of purpose. So for me, that meant nonprofit off the bat. So during that time, I was kind of like interning and volunteering at different nonprofits. Um, and with my short time at CCA, I fell in love with the staff and just the work environment, and everything about that was just amazing. And I knew that something about their passion had to translate into the community and the families that made up CCA. So later on, when I was given the opportunity to come on full time, that thought was like entirely reaffirmed because I attended CCA's virtual retreat. I mean, sorry, not virtual retreat. At that time, it was in person.
Okay.
Their actual retreat, I want to say 2 months or 1 month into working full time. And the community and the families were just so welcoming. Like,
Yeah.
nobody cares how you look, they just want to know who you are and what makes you you. And honestly, when people ask me, hey, do you like your job? I'm like my job. I love my job. It's not even a job. Like, I truly enjoy, and honestly, the journey coming to it was just, at the time looking back, I'm like, I was so
Mm,
lost, but somehow it was just placed,
yeah.
so
It's just meant to be, really.
yeah.
Yeah, because when you're thinking of like a job, what do you want to do when you're older, you don't really think of the family that comes with that job, because it's more than a charity to you and to so many people. It's kind of like your family away from home, because we all are equally treated. We're all seen as the same people, and we're judged for who we really are as a person instead of the way that we look. So
Right.
it's absolutely amazing, and I'd like to congratulate you for achieving what you wanted from the start, and that's absolutely amazing. You must have worked
Thank
really
you.
hard to get there. So yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
no, I'd like to thank you. But on to my second question. We talk about CCA like it's a normal thing, but for all the people that don't know what CCA is, could you tell us the ethos that CCA
Yeah.
represents and what it stands for?
Sure. So CCA is a nonprofit that serves families with facial differences. Um, Most of our families are within the United States, but we have families outside worldwide. Um, so our mission is to empower and give hope to these individuals and families. And then our vision is to create a world where people are accepted for who they are and not for how they look. Um, and so, what I do specifically is I do the outreach portion. So, we have created a Choose Kind initiative, which basically is a set of curriculums. Well, the curriculums are the core to it, and the curriculums are meant to empower individuals with facial differences, but also just to the general public to reduce that stigma that's associated, and to really encourage
Mm,
um, individuals to take that stance to choose to be kind and to push away the tendencies of teasing and bullying. So that's what our curriculum is to its core. But then we also have other programs where we bring families together where they can engage with one another in their own personal journeys with facial differences. And then we also serve through financial assistance, because because a lot of our families have to go through many surgeries, and we help with that food and lodging that's involved with traveling to the surgeries as well as the travel expense. So that's kind of the umbrella of what CCA does, just trying to truly kind of put a little bit of ease into the struggles that sometimes the families may be going through, but really just empowerment and
Yeah.
building up. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe, I haven't really been like a long-term member, a part of the CCA family, but I think it's coming close to a year now that I've known about you, and that it's really been a part of my life and a part of my journey. And when I first heard about it, it was absolutely phenomenal, because well, I've actually heard of the company for charity 3 years, but I've only really been involved trying out for to become a speaker, and that's absolutely incredible course. I would recommend everyone to try that out, because it really helps you build your confidence, and it helps you really speak about all of the different things that come around with all these facial differences. And yeah, it's absolutely been an amazing journey. And yeah, CCA stand for, when I first heard of it, it was surreal. It's kind of like everything you want in one, because I was advocating for my stuff quite independently. Yes, I had a few friends, family, a few charities that supported along the way. But when I first found out about CCA, like really all the things that I was working hard for and that I wanted, my main goals for the future, it definitely aligned with this CCA company. And then I got information, I got more about it, and it's led to where we are today. And I'm so thankful for that. And your input on it's absolutely been amazing. You've done absolutely amazing work, and the rest of your team and family as well. So yeah, I'd like to thank you for that as well.
I want to thank you too, Nick, because you're doing some amazing work and some amazing engagements where you are too.
Oh, thank you
So
so much.
that is huge.
Yeah, because we're trying to do it for the better, and I think this world, we have to be in here together. We're not against each other. We have to work together. And CCA is only one part of the world that's trying to make it better. And there are so many different places that are campaigning for each individual thing. But I think the one that I've always stood by is facial equality, and not being judged by the way that you look. So this question is, you got to think about it a bit. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot for this question, but where do you see CCA in 5 years?
Sure. So definitely wanting to think a little bit bigger on this is to be able to reach more and more families.
Yeah.
So we do have a large community, but we definitely know that there's many families out there that still don't know what Children's Craniofacial Association is. They don't know that, there's resources out there, that there's a family, that there's a tribe out there for them. So definitely pushing towards further engagement and reaching out to people, but also reaching out to them sooner in their journey. We've had a lot of people find us as adults or as teens, which is amazing, and we've been able to create amazing relationships through that. But kind of creating something to where we're able to be in the beginning of their journeys, and be that support at the start. That's kind of like the broader spectrum. It's a little bit hard to kind of pinpoint one thing that we want to work on specifically, but I would say that's kind of the main goal.
That's absolutely amazing. You're trying to reach out to different families, you're trying to grow from this, and you're trying to overall your main goal is to try and get equality. And I think that's probably I think most problems in the world come from equality. But you really think about it, it's like, oh, it's easy, we have to treat people more equally. But there's more of a deeper message behind that, because there are so many different levels, whether you're being judged for the way that you look, the way that you think, or your different beliefs. You know, there are different levels of that, and I think equality is the main reason why so many things are happening in the world, and that have to be sorted out now, because we're at this point where we've really neglected everything in our past, and it's kind of like we have to really sort about this now, otherwise it's going to get worse, and it's going to get so much worse that we can't even handle it.
Mhm.
And yeah, and equality is definitely a massive thing, and CCA are trying to reach out to more people to spread, you know, get awareness for this charity and for many others, because you know, because there might be a family out there who thinks that they're all alone and that they can't really handle situations with other people, and there isn't anybody there to support them. That's exactly what I felt like, and my mum and my family felt like only a couple years ago. And now that we have you know, widened our mindset, we have personally gone out searching for things like this, and you know, it's kind of just it's meant to be, honestly, because yeah, it's absolutely been amazing how CCA have grown over the past few years, and I could definitely see them achieving what you believe as well, and I wish CCA the best for the future as well, and I'd like to help them reach out to more people as well, with my platform and everything. So yeah, I'd like to thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, I think you explained that perfect for that question. But I think now I want to speak about kind of more like I was quite all alone, and I didn't really have anybody to look up to apart from my family, and that was a real turning point when I spoke out. But you know, what would you say to a person who has a a facial difference and thinks less of themselves, like I did not so long ago, just only a couple of years ago? What would you say to that person to reassure them?
Sure. So I would definitely say that you have a family and you have a tribe, and sometimes you're born into that family and tribe, but other times you find those people along the way in life. And for many people, just like how I've experienced here in CCA, that tribe, you can find that tribe through CCA, through other people that have similar syndromes, or maybe they have a different syndrome, but they have a similar path, a similar journey. Um, but also just knowing that that's a very human feeling, and that struggling with loving yourself and being kind to yourself is a lifelong journey. Um, but just constantly having to tell yourself to like sit and reevaluate it, making it an importance. Um, and then kind of going back onto that tribe portion, like not to let your facial difference or how you look stop you from being who you want to be. I've met so many people through CCA that are doing amazing things and have made amazing careers and have not let anything kind of like hold them back. They've become authors, doctors, artists, speakers, teachers. And I mean, look at yourself. You're talking to people like across the globe.
I know,
So
it's surreal.
just not letting that hold you back. And I can't speak from a point of having a facial difference. So I can't say I know how that feels, but I know what it feels like to be judged based off of appearance, and looking different and just kind of like visually different. And some days are not so great. You know, people are not always kind and not always nice. And sometimes that does bring you down, and that's okay. But at the same time, just kind of constantly reminding yourself that what they think and what they say has nothing to do with who you are personally. You pick your journey, you pick your goals, you pick your passions, and you go and run after them.
100%, you know. In my life, I've spoke to around, not only on social media, but up front, before everything in the world's gone on. But, you know, I've spoke to around 1,000, maybe more inspirational people, and they've always had their own sets, whether it's um, racial awareness, equality, or raising money for different charities, or for even global warming and pollution. And I think despite all of us having our differences and we're aiming for different goals, we always have one thing in common, and that's being happy with yourself. And I think that's the most important thing that could possibly be done by yourself. Um, because you always have to put, it might seem selfish in some ways, but you always have to put yourself first. Because if you feel that you're not in that right mental place or physical place to help other people, then you should really be seeking out help. And then once you get better with yourself, then you can give back and you can help others. And that, yeah, and you have to be, you have to be aware of all of the mental health that's going on in the world, and all of the problems as well. And yeah, because I've been bullied and I wasn't happy with the way that I looked, and I wasn't happy with the way that I lived. And I didn't change myself, and I just was happy with who I was. And that's like the main thing that should happen. You have to care for yourself, and then you can give back to other people. So yeah, definitely, that's something that you and me would like to say to people who might be going through a hard situation or hard time right now. And you have to stay strong, and you have to stand your own ground. Um, so onto my you did absolutely amazing answer in that question as well. Just like to say that. But onto my fifth question. What is your biggest concern for the world at the moment? And, you know, how do you think that's okay, let me just start on the first part. What do you think is the biggest concern for the world at the moment?
Um, I think just kind of talking with like my friend group, I think
Yeah.
the biggest concern has been like losing hope a little,
Mm,
because it's kind of hard to think future when you're sitting at home during quarantine and lockdown. Um, so I think the biggest concern is kind of like staying motivated and staying on top of things and not losing that hope.
mm, yeah, 100%. Yeah. And you know, we've lockdown has brought on a lot of situations where we can't really speak to a person up front. And we all have our social lives. Do you think that lockdown has affected the work you've done at CCA, or do you think it's affected your social life outside of CCA? Do you think lockdown and all the problems going on in the world, do you think that it's really affected you?
Sure. So it's definitely affected the way CCA is kind of running right now. Um, but it's also opened a door for new opportunities and new relationships. We've made quite a few relationships like virtually with people that have found out about us during these times, maybe because they were more on social media that during this time. I don't know, but we've been able to kind of create some new relationships and take programming virtually that allows people to join regardless from where they are.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, it's definitely affected the way things are run, but it's also kind of opened these new doors and these new experiences and new relationships. In my personal life specifically, I have actually cut down on social media. Um, I have found that it's just not doing me much good personally. So I kind of only do social media for work or for like a very limited time, like half an hour, 1 hour a day, and then cut it off. And I've been doing kind of like back to what we had said about that kind of self-kindness, self-love. I've been trying to find things that make me happy and make me kind of feel full. And so I've been spending more time outside, like taking walks, or just sitting in the backyard and just observing nature, or reading books. I've actually started reading a little bit more. So in my personal life, I think I've kind of pushed back from a lot of the virtual technology stuff. But work-wise, we've definitely upped that game and
Yeah.
started doing more of that.
Yeah, and I think with what you said before about CCA trying to reach out to more people, I think yeah, social media is probably the best way to go because now lockdown has happened. I think more people have gone to the internet, more people have gone to seek out new things because they're trying to fill that gap where they used to go outside and enjoy the fresh air, maybe socialize, and now they've gone to social media, and I think and it's time for CCA to utilize those opportunities to reach out to more friends and families across the world that might need the support from them. And yeah, and I've especially enjoyed the workshops that CCA has put out there during lockdown as well, from Zoom, because
Mhm.
before lockdown I haven't really heard of Zoom. You know, I wasn't really using Skype calls like this, and now it's kind of brought up new opportunities to me and to reach out to more different people across the world. It's been absolutely amazing. So yeah,
That's
yeah, it's interesting really to hear like how such a big company like CCA has handled with lockdown. And yeah, it's
It's
like
definitely been like learning on the spot.
I know, yeah, it's been like very quick fire, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because like one day we're speaking in front of each other, now we're doing this, and it's just all gone so quick.
Yes.
So yeah, that was absolutely well answered by you. But now on to my final question. I know time is precious, and thank you so much for coping with me. But I spoke a bit about you know CCA's main goals, and I think I mentioned earlier on how I was involved in the motivational speakers program. So could you tell us a bit more about that if there were ever people listening to this that wanted to enter it? So could you tell us a bit more about the motivational speakers program?
Sure. So, CCA, Children's Craniofacial Association, created a speakers bureau, which basically gives a platform for our CCA kids, CCA adults, and
Mm,
advocates that want to talk about their journey with facial differences um, to the wider public.
yeah.
And so basically, what we do is so someone would go ahead and apply to become a member, and from there, we would kind of put them through a training process, kind of specific to the audience that they want to speak to. So, say for instance, someone wants to speak to younger children, we'll kind of put them in a training that's geared towards that younger children, so that if they hadn't had experience with that, they know, oh, the little kids are going to lose interest really quick. So, kind of gear your audience in a certain way. Similarly, if they want to speak to like adults or corporations or colleges, we have a separate training program for them. And then once they go through this training process, they basically submit an audition. And through that audition, we're able to kind of understand who the speaker is, kind of their personality, as well as kind of provide feedback. Then I am personally able to know, okay, this is how Nick's personality is. Nick would do great with this audience. So once we get a request from that audience, we say, okay, Nick would be the perfect person for this. Let's connect the two. Because we do often have a lot of them are schools. So we will have like schools that reach out to us saying, oh, hey, we read the book Wonder, and then we found your website. And we would love to meet someone with a facial difference or just talk with someone about their journey. And that's kind of where we do the pairing. But we also get similar requests from like doctors' offices or like colleges. And so that allows us to like pair these speakers. But truly the Speakers Bureau is created to like cultivate acceptance and create a platform for our speakers to feel empowered, to gain that confidence. If they want to meet with other speakers and kind of get advice on like, hey, what worked for you when you did a session with this audience? They then have that kind of group that they can
Mm,
discuss with.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's definitely cultivating these
yeah.
speakers and kind of just working on what they already do amazingly.
Yeah, and the course I did was absolutely phenomenal, and I definitely recommend people to, if you really enjoy speaking and you really enjoy spreading your story, um, and yeah, I definitely recommend doing it because it can open up so many different opportunities to you, and you'll be doing it for an amazing cause as well. So that was all of my questions, and thank you so much for answering them in such an amazing manner. Yeah, I'd like to thank you for all the inspirational work you do as well. It's just absolutely been amazing, and yeah, you really are kind of like the reason why so many people's lives have been so much better. So yeah, thank you for that. And
Thank,
yeah, it's been amazing speaking to other people like you.
thank you for thinking of me and for thinking of CCA.
Yeah, oh, thank you. It's been absolutely amazing.